guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Allysa and I'm so happy to have you here. Today I'm going to be doing a video in my series called Chats with Allysa, and it's basically where I choose a topic and I talk about it, and it gives me an opportunity to really sit down with you guys and just kind of catch up, because most of my videos that I've been posting lately have been more vlog style, travel vlogs, things like that, so I don't really get an opportunity to talk about a dedicated topic. And this topic in particular, my experience as a legal assistant, has been something that I've wanted to film for a while, but I also wanted to give myself a little bit of time in this role as a legal assistant because I'm fairly new to it, I'm still new to it, so I wanted to make sure that I had enough time to learn and just kind of settle in before I was able to give advice on it. I also wanted to mention that this new upload schedule that I want to do is posting Chats with Allysa on Saturdays and then more regular videos, so more of the vlogs and those types of videos on Wednesdays. I think that's how I'm gonna do it. I haven't decided quite yet, but I see that being as the most logical way to kind of split up my content, so we'll see how that goes, and you guys can obviously let me know how you like that. And without further ado, let's jump into my experience as a legal assistant and advice that I would give to someone interested in this field. I think before I talk about my experience as a legal assistant in my current role, I do kind of want to give a little bit of a background as to my education and just prior legal experience I have, because I think it's helpful for people who are curious and also are thinking, like, do I need to have legal experience in order to become a legal assistant? And to answer that question, I would say not necessarily. I think every job is going to be different. Some people definitely look at that. Having experience coming into a role always helps, but it doesn't mean that it's a straight yes or no answer. It also depends a lot on how your interview goes and what you can offer to the table. So for context, I am 21 years old. I graduated from a 4-year university here in San Diego, where I currently reside. I had a major in political science with a minor in literature and writing, and I just graduated last year actually. So really exciting. And when I went into college, I had the intent of pursuing a legal career. I didn't know exactly if I wanted to become a lawyer or a paralegal or how that would work out. For me, when I was looking at possible career choices, the legal one was definitely something that I considered. But the thing with that is I didn't know anyone personally in the legal field, so it was kind of hard for me to gauge whether or not I would like it. So I thought the best way for me to really know if this was something that I could pursue seriously later on in life is to gain experience, which leads me to my first main point of this video, is to gain as much experience as you can if you're considering being a legal assistant or doing an entry-level job. I know it's kind of this double-edged sword, because a lot of the times in my experience I would apply to legal assistant jobs but I wouldn't get the job because I felt like I didn't have that experience, but I was applying to these entry-level jobs in order to gain experience. So it's kind of like you have to put yourself out there and keep applying in order to get told that one yes. It's just kind of the nature of the game. And luckily, when I was still in college, I had the opportunity to intern for a program called Justice Course. So I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's essentially a program that tries to make legal services more accessible to people with various backgrounds. So that was the whole goal of the program. I applied for it, I did an interview through Zoom, and then I ended up getting that internship, which was really exciting. So I guess you could say that was my first real legal experience. Granted, it was in a completely different type of law than what I'm doing now, but it was the first time that I was able to be in a legal field and just kind of understand what it's like and be exposed to attorneys and paralegals and the legal process, because prior to that I really didn't have a lot of experience, and it was super beneficial for me. I was assigned to the family court law facilitator office. I was basically helping out with the paperwork and talking to the clients and letting them know the different options they had and just kind of walking them through that. And I did that twice a week for about, I want to say, 3 to 4 months, you can make the most out of the internships that are catered towards students. It can really help you in your career in the long term. Now, I kind of want to jump into now my current role as a legal assistant, because I know that's what you guys came here for. I know that's what a lot of you guys have been asking me. For those of you curious, I work in employment law, so I help wrongfully terminated people. In my specific role, I deal with onboarding, so helping the clients with all the paperwork that they need, and that's what I've been doing for the past few months. It's definitely been a whirlwind of emotions, so much learning, a few breakdowns here and there. It's kind of cool because when I filmed and posted that video, my first day as a legal assistant, I figured I would give that a shot, and I never thought much of this video that I was posting, my vlog, and it ended up being one of the most viewed videos that I have in my short time here on YouTube. And so I feel like from that video I was able to connect with a lot of people who were interested in this field and who were kind of like, oh, what do you think about it? What's the interview process like? And it was really just a kind of humbling experience to just have that connection. It's just so cool to hear your guys' stories and to hear you talk about how you're interviewing for a legal assistant role or a paralegal role, and having seen my video and knowing that it kind of helped you in a way or made you feel a little less alone was really fulfilling for me, and that's what I hope this video can do. So I've been a legal assistant now for about 4 months, and like I mentioned, it's been a challenge, but it's definitely gone easier, I'd say, within the past month, when things started to really click for me and when I started to change my perspective from doubting myself to more so seeing when I made mistakes as an opportunity to grow. And that's, I think, one of the biggest tips that I have for you is when you make mistakes or when you're in the legal field, you know, you're not going to know everything, so come in with a mindset that you're willing to learn, and it's okay to make mistakes. Like, if you have no legal experience, it's going to be pretty intimidating, I'm not going to lie. Like, I think the biggest struggle for me, and still is to this day, and I'm sure some people can relate to this if you're not a licensed attorney, is drawing the line between trying to help clients but also not trying to give what would be constituted as legal advice, because you're not supposed to do that. So it was really hard for me to find that balance, and over time though it becomes easier. So I think that's one of my big tips, is come in with the mindset of you're ready to learn, but you're not going to know everything all at once, and it's totally okay. Just know that the criticism you receive, the majority of the time, it's related to the role and just making sure that you're not going to create more issues. Most of the time, it's not against you as a person, and I think that's what you have to distinguish when you're in the legal field and you're new, is if someone brings something up and you mess up about it, don't take everything so personally. Just know that, you know, it is a field that requires a lot of detail. You do have to be mindful and very meticulous with how you word things. Over time, when I shifted my perspective, I noticed that I became a lot better with my role as a legal assistant. And I think also something too that helps is learning how to adapt to the company culture. I'd say within the first month, within the first like 2 months, really observe how people interact, really observe how people communicate with each other. Like, do they prefer email? Do they prefer phone calls? Do they prefer text? Like, each company is going to be different. So knowing that and observing how people prefer to communicate is going to help you feel more, I hate to say it, but I guess assimilated into the culture. I don't know if that's the right word necessarily, but it's gonna help you just feel like you can fit in. And I don't mean that in like a, you have to rid yourself of everything that makes you you, but it's just more so from a career standpoint and a professional standpoint. You really wanna be mindful and observe like how people communicate with one another, because it can help you become better, communicate with your supervisors and your coworkers out there, and it can just like save you a lot of trouble with feeling like taking things too personally. That's something too that I felt like within the first few months, like I would message people and then they would only give me like a one-word response or just like okay, and I'd be like, did I do something wrong? So I would like overanalyze the messages I would receive online, but when you realize, okay, that's just how the company is communicating, it'll just make you feel a lot more at peace. The next topic that I kind of wanted to dive into was the interview process, because a lot of you guys asked me what the interview process was like and any advice that I would give to people who are interviewing as a legal assistant or just in the legal field in general. And so in my experience, I was interviewed by the director of operations. It can vary. I really can't give you a straight answer about who you're going to be interviewed by, but my best guess would be that it would probably be from someone in HR. For me, I had a phone call with the director of operations, a 30-minute phone call, just pretty standard. And I remember talking to her for about 30 minutes. We had maybe like one email communication, and that was pretty much it. And then I got a response in about a week. Show that you're curious and that you are willing to learn. I think regardless of your experience, and I think sometimes you can kind of psych yourself out by thinking, oh, they're not going to go for me because what experience do I have? But sometimes you can use that to your benefit. It's all in the way how you sell yourself, as silly as that sounds, but it's really in the way that you frame it. So for example, you could look at someone with no experience and say, there's no way that they're going to hire this person. What are they going to offer to the table? Or you can look at someone who has very little experience and say, you know what, they're teachable. They are willing to learn the new process. And so in some eyes, it could really work to your benefit. So I would say if you are in that boat where you don't have a lot of legal experience coming in, I didn't, I just had an internship, but not really any actual work in the legal fields, I would say be curious, show that you're really excited to be in the role, and also talk about your transferable skills. I think people forget about that, is even if you haven't worked in this specific role before, chances are that you have worked customer service or been in a job where you've had to deal with a lot of different personalities, and that definitely can play into being a really good legal assistant, is being able to handle a lot of different personalities, being able to interact. So don't forget your transferable skills and highlight those in the interview and on your resume. Don't forget that people hired you for this role for a reason. I think it's of course intimidating whenever you start something new, like you doubt yourself and you feel like all eyes are on you, and to a certain extent that's true because you are kind of the newbie and you're learning the ropes. But also remember that majority of the time, the people who hired you, they wouldn't have hired you if they thought that you couldn't do the job, or that at least they didn't think that you had a shot at being successful at this role. Pride yourself in the fact that you got this role and that you're in this stage for a reason. I think that definitely helped me. Whenever I doubted myself, I would tell myself that, and it made things a little bit easier, I will say. It's okay to be gentle on yourself, show yourself compassion. I think something that I also wanted to touch on before I concluded this video is to be mindful of the company that you're going into and to be conscious of red flags of a toxic work environment. You're in a company that doesn't value you, or kind of sets you up for failure, or just pushes your questions away, or isn't willing to teach you how to be successful, chances are you're in the wrong company. And there's definitely that grace period where you want to make sure that you spend enough time in a company, make sure that it's not just this initial period, but it's like this ongoing thing. But definitely be mindful and aware of those signs of a toxic work culture. I could do a separate video on that completely, but I think just remembering that, yeah, they are your boss, and yes, you are new, but you also need the tools to succeed, so never forget that. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all of the points that I wanted to touch on. I can definitely do a part 2 to this video, and there's also so many topics that I could go into just career-wise. If you guys are still interested in talking about or having me do more chats with Allysa that are more career-oriented, I'd be more than happy to do that. Just make sure you like this video and comment down below maybe other questions or other things that I didn't touch on this video. I'd be happy to answer those all in the comments. And of course, you can follow my social media down below, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.